Hey everybody, Simone here with Bulletproof Business Growth, as always with some ideas and insights, what to pay attention to when you're growing and scaling your business. So today I want to talk about something, many of you may have heard me mention this before, when you're really looking to make a difference, pushing it hard. Like, everybody thinks it's all about the strategy, and yes, of course, the strategy is important. But what's more important than anything is your emotional outlook, your mindset, how you approach things. So I always say it's about 93% mindset and about 7% strategy. So, one thing I see over and over is that our clients theoretically know what they should do, and then they're not doing it. So I just got off the phone with someone I talked to maybe 6 months ago, and then they chose not to work with us because he thought it all sounded great to him theoretically, but he was just thinking he had to focus on operations and he wouldn't have the time to really implement this stuff. So 6 months later, we're talking, and where is he now? Well, honestly, he has the same problems, but they're worse now. 2 of his good people left without notice. They quiet quit. He is working 24/7. He just lost a big opportunity. And overall, he's the most overworked employee in his business. And honestly, his team can't operate because he doesn't give them what they need. So it's always all on him. So they can't perform. And he knows he needs to change it if he really wants this to go differently, but he is stuck in this uncomfortable comfort zone where he is hanging out in what's familiar, but it's really dysfunctional and it's not serving him, his clients, his team, his family, anybody. So, as leaders, we all know we're supposed to drive change, and you're supposed to push your organization to new heights. And the reality here is, we may know this intellectually, we may know that we want to make this happen, but to make it happen also sounds incredibly difficult and haunting. So the big problem here is that most business leaders prioritize, just like the person I just talked to, prioritize immediate operational demands over long-term leadership development, which of course is what actually sets things up differently, which improves the infrastructure. And that's the thing that's so important when you want to grow, but it seems less important. So that's not where the energy and attention goes. And of course, then that means there's no change. So, and there's this other challenge with entrepreneurs and leaders, is they think they should be able to just kind of power through things with sheer willpower, when it's like, hey buddy, you've been like, what you've been doing got you here, and this has been a tremendous effort to get here, but the same things that got you here are not the same things that will get you to the next level. And I'm sure you've heard this before. And of course, the cost here for staying in the uncomfortable comfort zone, well, it's not comfortable for one thing. It's the pain of stagnation, the missed opportunities. You're getting burned out, your team is getting burned out. Of course, that's incredibly frustrating, and there's so much unrealized potential. So this comfort zone thing may be easier not to step out, but it's certainly not better. So when we get into kind of the psychological aspect of it, right? So why are we stuck? The challenge here is really your emotions and your inner psychology. And what's behind all of it is not rocket science. It's the fear of the unknown. I haven't done this. What if it doesn't work? There's no guarantees. My standard answer to that is like, well, what if it does work, right? So if it doesn't work is a big fear. No guarantees. Well, we all know there's no guarantees. All the anxieties and doubts creep in, and then these are really powerful barriers that prevent us from taking the very actions that we absolutely know we need to take. So now what? Are we stuck in this forever? So let's look at the psychological factors here that are making this happen. So business leaders are stuck in their comfort zone. They desperately want to grow and evolve. And what most importantly here, what we want to do today is we'll talk about a proven science-backed framework to overcome those type of emotional holdbacks. Because the reality here is, if you want to grow and scale, you need fundamental changes and breakthroughs. And that also means getting a handle on your inner landscape is absolutely essential. So how do we know with the emotions? Because if you do it right, they are really powerful fuel to propel us forward. And if you don't do it right, they become a significant hurdle that, of course, block process. And, I see this all the time in our clients. Of course, I'm not going to say I've never experienced this before. Of course, that is just human nature. So the only thing that matters is how do you get through it? Because on the one side, that gives you the passion and the enthusiasm and the purpose and your motivation to take risks and continue this hard work when, we all know what it's like when something doesn't work time and time and time again, and you got to keep going because you just know in your heart at some point it will work. But that means you need to persevere through challenges. But then there's that fear of failure, the unknown, the self-doubt that's holding you back from getting and pushing through to that next level of business, which is where you really want to be. So these emotional facts, yeah. So there's mindset and decision making, and of course there's profound effect on our actual capabilities and performance. So these emotional pieces are so important to get right. So because when you think about it, when you're stressed and worried and overwhelmed, it's exponentially harder to access your full creative problem-solving abilities, your resilience, and of course, your mental focus. And that's the number one important thing in business is keeping that mental focus sharp. So step one to break out, like we're going to break this down into steps here. So step one to break out of your comfort zone is understanding the role of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, because if we don't handle those, we'll never be able to make those kind of sustainable and transformative changes that we're aiming for. So what to do here is, so I was reading this article and it reminded me of an old psychological model that's been around for a really long time with the silly name of WOOP, W-O-O-P, and it's a really helpful way to prepare for changes. So what WOOP stands for is wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. And this is a 4-step process. Like I said, it's been around for a really long time. I don't know who to credit with it. It's been rigorously studied and proven to help people overcome emotional blocks that are holding them back from making these changes that, like we said, that they know they need to make and somehow they're not making them. So let's go through those steps here. So the W for wish, that's your specific, ambitious goal that you're trying to achieve. So think about your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal, your stretch objective that you really, really want, even if it seems daunting. So it's important that you get crystal clear on what that is. And interestingly enough, especially with our clients who have been in business for a long time, who have experienced multiple failures, who have had a rough road to hoe, sometimes is that they were doing extremely well and then the market changed, the audience changed, the product desire changed, so suddenly they were failing, and no matter what they were doing, it wasn't working. So what I noticed is that when you get stuck in that sort of cycle, it's really hard sometimes even to define what your wish is, because there's this little back of your head voice that goes, well, you've already been trying. Like, why are you even coming up with this stuff? You know it's not going to work. So getting your wish, despite everything that happened, letting history go by, despite everything that happened, getting back to, hey, what is my clear wish? What's my stretch objective that I really want, even though it seems daunting right now? So get crystal clear on what that piece is. The next on the list here is for the first outcome. So, and this is where it gets really fun, because if you achieve that wish, how would you feel? What's the positive impact this would have on your business, on your team, on you, on your family? So really expand in that feeling. And this is the part where it's super important that you don't just go through the exercise theoretically in your mind, but you really take it into your body. That's where the power of this method happens, when you feel it in your body. So when you visualize that wish and you really get with, like, what that means to me, and then you visualize what that outcome would feel like for you, so you really understand the why behind your goal, because that's the most powerful motivator that you could possibly have. So the second O is for obstacle. What internal emotions, factors, what are the fears, the doubts, the worries? What is it that's getting in your way here of moving forward? And of course, this is also where you have to get really honest with yourself and really specific, because sometimes this is not the glorious stuff. It's like, is this a sense of unworthiness that's getting in your way? Fear of being judged, what other people are thinking? Are you constantly overwhelmed and you can't think about, putting another thing on your plate? So what's that obstacle that's keeping you from really diving in here? So outcome, obstacle, and then the fourth one, the P, stands for a clear, actionable plan. So that is how you overcome those obstacles. Not a plan for the wish, but how do you overcome the obstacles that keep you from even moving forward? So as an example, if you are really anxious, if it makes you really anxious to think about this, like, take 5 breaths, or think about what your why is. Or, if you're constantly procrastinating on this project because it's scary to you, well, maybe you need to reach out to your coach or your accountability partner, or somebody who can kind of talk you off the ledge and help you return back to your outcome, right? Because as long as you lead with your wish and your outcome and your why connected with that, that's always going to bring you back to actually overcoming your obstacles with the plan that you got. So the key here is it's giving you a concrete, practical strategy for managing your difficult emotions in the moment, so that they don't derail you from making progress on your goals. Because it's so easy when you have those negative thoughts, the saboteur voice in the back of your head, it can stop and derail you from everything you're doing. So you want to use this strategy in the moment this is happening. So WOOP is actually most effective when you practice it regularly. So the second you feel those, what are the triggers? What's the feeling that you notice? You want to practice it, and not just in the heat of the moment, but really any time when it's applicable. So practicing is what makes mastery, right? So I would recommend set time aside every week to go through the process, reflect on your big picture objectives, recenter yourselves, so that you're really clear on your core motivations and your specific steps that you need to take here. And that helps you to overcome this comfort zone paralysis. And look, the unpopular truth here is the reason that so many business leaders are stuck in their comfort zone, even when they desperately want to grow, is because they haven't developed the essential emotional intelligence, the self-management skills to effectively navigate these internal obstacles. So it's not enough to know what they are when you don't make the changes. So you need to make the changes to be able to manage the fear, the self-doubt, the anxiety when you're supposed to take bold action. And that's what we need to do when we move into kind of uncharted territories, is take bold action. So this super simple WOOP method that I just talked you through is a game changer, because when you're in a place where you have a structured process, where you know how to define your goals, where you understand the deeper motivation behind things, when you can identify your specific roadblocks, and that makes you have practical coping strategies in place that empower you. And that means you can take consistent and meaningful actions outside your comfort zone towards those big goals that you may have been pushing aside. So, because when, let's be real, building a thriving, innovative business takes a lot of courage, it takes a lot of resilience and adaptability, and those qualities don't just come out of thin air. So they need to be deeply cultivated and nurtured. So it's something that you absolutely have to notice, use this as a pattern interrupt, have this something that you can practice. Because if you're ready for really these transformative changes that your organization needs, practice this WOOP method. It may feel awkward and kind of weird to start with, but I promise you it's an invaluable tool for unlocking your full potential as a leader. So to wrap things up, the key takeaways here are: number one, your emotions and your inner psychology play a massive role in whether or not you step out of your comfort zone and achieve your big picture goals. And then you can use the WOOP method: wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. This is a proven science-backed framework to overcome your emotional blocks that keep you stuck. And then when you consistently practice the WOOP method, that's essential for developing self-awareness, self-management skills that are required to navigate uncertainty and make the bold moves that your business needs you to make. So if you're ready for this, try this. The future of your business and your own growth as a leader may very well depend on it. This is kind of the first step. And if you want more, we have a brand new training out there that's at bizscalingblueprint.com. Check that out. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time.